Good evening. In the last hour, Hamas leaders have said they'll agree to a ceasefire proposal put forward by Egypt and Qatar in the 7-month-old war with Israel. It's understood the terms could include the release of 33 hostages held since the October the 7th attacks last year. There has been no immediate response so far from Israel, but if there is an agreement, it would be the first pause in the fighting since a week-long truce last November. Well, Jeremy Bowen is here with me in the studio. This is a turn up for the books, literally in the last hour, and the mood music getting into that was not good.
No, it's very bleak because the Israelis, of course, gave those warnings this morning to people in Rafah to move. The offensive was about to happen, or rather a smaller scale version of it. So I've been talking to people close to the talks, normally reliable diplomatic sources. And what I've been told is that they've agreed to release 33 Israeli hostages, a 40-day ceasefire. There would be freedom of movement for people in Gaza to return to the north, which has not been allowed up to now. And then there'd be a second phase, which is known as restoring sustainable calm. Now, my information is that that was language proposed by the Americans back in February, rejected by the Israelis, but accepted by them, reportedly, I'm told by these sources, on the 28th of April that they agreed to it. And that American language is basically a creative way of talking about a long-term ceasefire, because Israel didn't want to use that sort of language. So, you know, my source said everyone's read was that Netanyahu was hoping Hamas wouldn't take it. We'll have to see what he does now. The ball is in his court. Hamas has called their bluff. The Israelis themselves, there have been some reports on news agencies saying that this is a ruse by Hamas. They're looking into it. Maybe it's not quite what they agreed to, but clearly things are happening. The head of the CIA has been talking all day to the Qatari Prime Minister in Doha, their capital. Biden will speak to Netanyahu later, and the King of Jordan is at the White House right now, and he, of course, has been a big critic of the war.
Indeed. OK, Jeremy, thank you, our international editor there. Let's go straight to Jerusalem, and Frank Gardner is standing by. Any word yet from the Israelis on this development, Frank?
No, not so far. An unnamed official has indicated that these softened terms, as they put it, are not going to be acceptable to the Israeli government. So the mood music here in Israel is not particularly optimistic, I have to say. The Israeli media have said that the terms have altered in some way. Whatever Hamas has agreed to, even if it is still the same deal that was on the table, has still got to be agreed to by the Israeli government and signed off. Now, there is mounting pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu here in Israel by the families of the hostages saying, do a deal, because your military operation in Gaza isn't getting our loved ones out. And those voices are getting louder and louder. I drive every night past these protesters who are desperate to get their hostages out. There's still 90+ hostages thought to still be alive in Gaza, and they are, of course, the big bargaining chip for Hamas. They're not going to give that up unless they can be assured that this war is going to end.
All right, Frank, thank you for that. Frank Gardner there, live in Jerusalem.